Hello, Rhonda. Thank you so much for joining me for this session of Get to Know Your Cooper McElvaney Fellow.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi. So Rhonda is one of the two Cooper McElvaney Fellows for 2020, and she is originally from Phoenix City, Alabama. She started her post-secondary education at Clark College, now Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, graduating with a degree in business administration. As a lifelong learner and a student of history, Rhonda is currently pursuing a Master of Liberal Studies degree at SMU with two areas of concentrations: humanities and human rights, and social justice. Her research has taken her on 3 civil rights pilgrimages, 2 across the South and 1 on the West Coast. She's written and spoken passionately on the subject, including several independent study projects. Rhonda's varied life experiences and coursework provides her agency to be a resource and bridge builder to aid in the acknowledgement of the intersectionality of race, poverty, healthcare, and human rights and social justice. She's excited about opportunities to help increase understanding and develop viable solutions to a myriad of problems we face as a society. So thank you again for joining me today, Rhonda.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Great. To begin us off, I'll go ahead and ask you a series of questions and feel free to just answer them, okay?
Okay.
The first question I have for you today is, could you briefly introduce your project to us?
Yes, my project looks at one of my favorite words, the intersectionality of the COVID-19 virus and its effect, in particularly on the Black community. And I'm looking at it from a Christian perspective. As you may or may not be aware, in our community, the church is really the center of the community. And so looking at how Black people have been just so disproportionately affected by COVID-19, I wanted to look and see how are the churches approaching this phenomenon? Are they having to rearrange their services? Are they having to do outreach differently? Are they looking at addressing the health causes in terms of the overriding effects of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity, and those contributing factors to COVID-19? And are they looking at testing? Are they looking at how to maybe look at legislative action to address these overriding health concerns in the Black community?
What inspired you to do this project?
Okay. Well, it was that very thing. As we all became more familiar with COVID-19 the early part of the year, many of us were not really paying that much attention to it. It seems like it was, off in another land. And as the news media started to mention that it was, was in Washington State, and then of course we had our government officials saying that it was fake news, there was nothing to be worried about. But because I do listen to different types of news sources, I myself became very concerned about it for 2 reasons. Is because it seems like it was going to be a major health problem, but also because I was scheduled to do some international travel to study abroad. And of course, that came to a screeching halt. So once SMU canceled that trip, I knew that there was something really bad was going to be happening in the next few months. And but still, once the numbers started to come out, it seems like people were pretty much overall concerned about it. But once the news media started mentioning the health crisis, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, and the fact when they started saying that more Black and brown people were being affected by it, I knew that we were going to be in for a tough time in our community. So I just wanted to see where the numbers would lead us, and also to see what the church's position was going to be. There's a saying that when America gets a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. And I think that saying has been really borne out for various reasons these past few months with COVID-19.
So, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but how do you see your faith connecting with this particular social justice project?
Well, faith is the center of everything that I do in my life. And the Bible even talks about how our bodies are the temple, are his temple. And if we don't take care of our bodies, it's really hard to take care of your spirit. And also the Bible talks about when you've done it into the least of these, you've done it into him. So when you look at, again, the communities, in particular where there are concentrations of Black people, that's where you see a lot of COVID-19 diagnosis as well as death. And you also look at the fact that there are not a lot of grocery stores, there are not a lot of green spaces, there are not a lot of amenities, if you will, that would serve to help, let's say, offset some of the effects of COVID in terms from a health perspective. And so I just believe that when we take care of our bodies, it's in line with taking care of our spirit.
Thank you. So I know the first mention of this in media was sometime in February or March, or was it even earlier?
It was earlier in some media circles, but it really started at the end of February, the beginning of March. My trip was canceled. My trip to South Africa was basically canceled on March 30th. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tracking the media from then, where are you now with the project, and how do you expect the project to end?
Okay.
Because it's been a span of several months now.
Yes. It has been very interesting to see how the media, and I'm proud to say, I used to be a newspaper reporter for my local community. So I'm proud to say that I feel the news media has done a wonderful job in terms of trying to get the truth out and going into communities, Black communities, Hispanic communities, and literally addressing it. And as I've done my research, I've literally been able to map, let's say, what was happening in early May, what was happening in mid-May, thanks to the Dallas County Health Department, for instance. They have, literal charts and graphs as to how the disease was progressing, how the diagnosis was progressing, how the hospitalization, and unfortunately, how the deaths were progressing. And they do a great job of breaking it down, by race, by age. So I think that in conjunction with the news media, with the churches themselves, with the hospital, the medical community, and even with the local government officials, that they have taken this situation very, very seriously. And I'm very happy that they did. Because our national and even our state government may not have been doing it so far. And where I am is that I've actually, I'm doing the project. I'm going to end up with about 5 or 6 churches. And these churches have been very, very active in terms of getting involved with the COVID-19, so much so that several of them have developed, have offered testing at their churches, which is what I was going for. I can't say I had any impact on it myself, but that's what I was hoping for to present as an end result. But the community itself just took the project and ran with it. And so now I've been able to talk with those pastors and, see what they've been able to come up with to have the testing sites actually at their churches, because initially there were no testing sites in Dallas. And then when they got them, they had very narrow requirements as to who could get tested. Despite what government officials were saying, anyone who wants a test could get a test. That was not true at all. So eventually Dallas County did put in 2 testing sites. And the second one was because there was a big uproar that there was nothing in the southern sector, which is where the testing was actually needed. And so they did put in 2 sites, but these churches, separate from the government agencies, came up with a, like nonprofits put in, resources to offer the testings actually at the churches themselves. And one pastor said something that I thought was very fitting. And a lot of people don't think about this, especially from, if you're not, a student of history and Black people and government testing and that sort of thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the syphilis project that took place at Tuskegee Institute, back in the 50s and 60s. But one pastor said, "We don't trust those institutions, but we do trust the church." And that was gotten from an interview from Dr. Freddie Haynes of Friendship West Baptist Church. So I was happy that the churches took a lead position once they realized as they say, no one is coming to save us. We basically have to put our programs in our neighborhoods, and several of the churches have even started food pantries on site. They started community gardens, not just with COVID-19, but even prior to that. So this is just a continuation of taking care of the community as it exists.
Wow. I mean, just hearing this so far, I can't wait until I hear the end result of what your findings would be.
Oh,
It's
I
yeah.
want
Go
to
ahead.
do one more thing, and to be a
Mhm.
researcher myself, I actually got a COVID test myself. I wanted to go, not with a sign across my head to say I'm doing a fellowship, but I wanted to be with, just as any other person to go and experience that. So yesterday I actually went to Paul Quinn College, and I stood in
Mhm.
line with everybody else. I think my number was 327. They did not start.
Wow.
Yeah, they were set up for 500 tests. Their cutoff is 500 tests. They do testing twice a week, and I was shocked when I got there and I saw the line. But I was encouraged at the same time, because this is in the southern part of Dallas County, and to see so many people in line outside, it was encouraging, because it let me know that the community, and even people coming from outside of the community like myself, we are
Mhm.
concerned about our health. We are concerned
Yeah.
about health. And the one of the organizers of the event at Paul Quinn, he told me that when they got there at 7:30 to get everything all set up, people were already in line, snaking back to the highway, almost snaking back to 45, Highway 45. And he said they opened the gates of the college so that they could not be blocking the traffic. And
Mhm.
even though they did not start doing the test until 10 o'clock in the morning, people were there at 7:30 lined up.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I got there around 10:20, and it was just unbelievable. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know so many people would be here, especially considering where it is. But
Mhm.
I was very encouraged, and so I took the test. It was not the nose swab that everyone is afraid of. It was the mouth and the
Mhm.
cheek swab. So I wanted to experience it for myself, so that I could talk more intelligently about what the process is. And now I wait 3 to 5 days to get the results.
Oh, well, thank you for going through that experience, because I'm pretty sure that helps.
Yeah.
As a researcher, understanding what you're researching about. So that's great. I have one final question,
Okay.
um, and eh, it's your experience so far as a Cooper McElvaney Fellow. And I know you and I were in a few discussions, but could you tell us about your experience so far as a fellow?
So far, I'm so excited. It has really helped me um, develop more agency, even though, let's say, I was supposed to be in South Africa for a study time. But this, as I have looked at the overall picture of my education and my ability to speak with authenticity, but also with authority in terms of social justice, human rights. This will give me a higher platform, because I'm able to literally go out into the community and do something that will, as I say, it will outlast and outlive me, because I will be able to present information to people on a current event, and hopefully to encourage people to be a participant in their community, to take better care of themselves from a health perspective, to literally go out and vote now that we're thinking about who are we going to elect in terms of who's going to be in favor of our health care, because that's a real issue from a social justice and human rights perspective. If we don't have an adequate health care system, we will not have a strong United States of America. So this has just been a godsend, a true blessing for me to be a Cooper McElvaney fellow. I'm so happy that things turned out the way they did.
Well, thank you, Rhonda, for taking your time out of your day today to sit down and talk with me. It's always a pleasure to have our discussions. But I truly want to thank you for taking your time today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you've done also.
Great. I look forward to talking to you next time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.